Okay, so we are going on to we are streaming to YouTube.
Okay, I see I'm on live now, but has the recorded started or that's fine once?
Yes, it has started.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, esteemed colleagues and valued participants, welcome to the Continuous Professional Development and Education Committee section. It is with immense pleasure that we gather together to embark on a journey of knowledge and growth within the realm of geospatial science and technology. My name is Francis Andofo, and I am honored to serve as your moderator for this evening's discourse. Ghana Geospatial Society as an organization is deeply committed to our vision. We envision a Ghana where the horizons of geospatial science, technology, and their applications are continually pushed forward. Our vision is one of advancement, where the boundaries of possibility are expanded and the benefit of geospatial knowledge are harnessed for the betterment of our nation. Our mission is threefold. Firstly, we aspire to be the resonant voice that advocates for the geospatial community here in Ghana. Secondly, we are dedicated to safeguarding and advancing the interest of our esteemed members across the various platforms and institutions. And finally, we are resolute in our goal to raise awareness about the pivotal role of geospatial technology in achieving the Sustainable Development Goal. Today, under the banner of the Continuous Professional Development and Education Committee, we all come together and share a commitment of excellence and learning. This gathering serves as a testament of our dedication to ongoing education, fostering a space where ideas are cultivated, knowledge is exchanged, and collaborations are formed. Throughout this section, the Ghana Water Transformation Journey, the impact of geospatial technology in the group of urban supply in Ghana would be shared. Once again, you are welcome, everyone. We have some few announcements that I will start with, and then I'll introduce the guests who would speak to us today. Our first announcement is that GGS, or Ghana Geospatial Society, will be having its annual seminar in November where everyone will be inducted, everyone will be given the opportunity to be part officially of the society. In view of that, we entreat everyone who has not yet provided all the documents necessary to be part of the November inductment to go to the website, which will be in the comment section. Go to the website and then provide all your documents. This is necessary because this time around there will not be any examination. So only documents will be vetted, and accurate and up-to-date documents would be expected from everyone. Secondly, we're also going to have a series of Python training, which is going to be a continuous series for 2 weeks. And we entreat that all of us should look forward to this training and register as soon as possible so we can be able to prepare for you. If any announcement comes up, I will let you know as well. Today we have with us our distinguished speaker. Let me introduce Engineer Kwaku Dochi, a remarkable professional with an impressive academic and professional background. Engineer Kwaku Dochi holds a bachelor's degree in geomatic engineering from KNUST. He obtained it in 2006. He further enriched his knowledge with a master's degree in water and environmental engineering in the University of Surrey in the UK. He successfully completed his studies in 2014. His commitment to continuous learning is evident in his certification in water, transport, and distribution, which he earned at IHE Delft in the Netherlands in 2017. With over 15 years of experience in geospatial applications across diverse industries, including utilities, construction, and property surveys, Engineer Kwaku Dochi is a seasoned expert in his field. His journey began in August 2010, and since then, he has made significant contributions to the geospatial landscape. Notably, he has actively participated in various geospatial events and conferences, including the African Geospatial Summit, which was held in 2012 in Accra, and the Azure User Conference in 2017 and 2023. Engineer Kokudoche, current role as the head of the Ashanti South Regional Technology and Innovation Department at the Ghana Water Company Limited, showcases his leadership and expertise. Within the department, he oversees 4 crucial units: GIS and hydraulic network modeling, non-revenue water management, ICT, and R&D. These units are integral to the application of geospatial technology, ensuring that water supply asset is meticulously mapped and seamlessly integrated into the robust spatial decision support system. We are truly privileged to have Engineer Kokudoche with us today, as he graciously shares his wealth of knowledge and experience in the realm of geospatial technology. Please join me to extend a warm welcome to our speaker, Engineer Kokudoche. Please take over.
Right. Good evening. Thank you, Francis. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Right. Thank you very much for the kind words. I'm not sure about all of those, but I'm grateful for the opportunity Ghana Geospatial Society has given me to share a story that a good number of my colleagues and I have been able to help in the public sector. So without wasting much of your time, I hope I can have your attention for the next 30 to 40 minutes. Unfortunately, my webcam is playing games with me at the 19th hour, so forgive me. I hope you can see my slides.
Yes, we can see.
Right. Okay, so I begin. So my name is Kweku Nyakudochi. I have a background in geomatic engineering and environmental engineering as a master's. So I always profile has already been given. So for me to begin the story, I'm here to impact of geospatial technology, the growth of urban water supply business in Ghana. Now, I work as the Ashanti South Regional Head of the Technology and Innovation Department of the company. This paper was inspired by, in fact, there was actually a specific request from the Federation of International Surveyors, FIG, during a working week in this year. So there was a request for a paper on what we call blue surveying. Blue surveying geospatial data management, which is associated with aquatic environments, deep oceans, as well as inshore water and lakes, as well as all other water bodies. So what we do in Ghana Water, in a way, can be classified under blue surveying. So this paper was inspired by that. I'd like to recognize my co-authors for writing the paper, engineer, surveyor Michael Nwagbe, as well as who is the research and innovation manager at the Technology and Innovation Department of Ghana Water Company, and as well as engineer Maxwell Akosakusi, who is also the manager of non-revenue water unit under the same Technology and Innovation Department. We co-authored this paper. So mine is just the mouthpiece of the work that's been done by a good number of hardworking team in the company. So the overview, I just like to give a brief justification and motivation for this paper. I will then show listeners about the brief profile about the company, what we do at Ghana Water. I will do challenges and then dwell more on the interventions that technology has had over the last 5 to 10 years. Before I conclude, I will also end and highlight on a few opportunities in the industry for geospatial professionals. Like I said, international surveyors, one of the commissions under them highlighted surveying, and I've described what blue surveying mainly is. It's just surveying or geospatial activity within water bodies. Now, so there can read further on what blue surveying is about. The SDGs, I'm sure we're all aware of the Sustainable Development. So the very relevant ones, goals 6, 11, 13, 14, and 15 speak much on blue surveying. So the justification for the paper, like I said, point 1 speaks about safety and affordable drinking water. There's a global concerted effort to ensure that all those in the sector work hard to be able to churn out wholesome water for the consuming public. Now, the key words there are stability. Now, on the slide there, I have 2 drone shots of 2 raw water sources we are familiar with in the central region. There's the Kakum River on the top left, as well as the River Pra. There's a lot said. We all know there's a lot which is alluvial gold mining. The threats of pollution is there. So the 2 key things I like to highlight are the pollution and water scarcity. Now, this makes the work of those of us in the urban water supply industry quite challenging because we have fewer volumes to produce, as well as highly polluted water. There's a need to make sure that the business that we do ends out in. Yes.
Can you give me a minute? I think people are raising their hands. If you have a concern,
challenge. Right.
Yeah, yes, if you have a concern, please put it in the chat. We are monitoring, and then we can fix that as soon as possible. All right, thank you. So if you have questions, you can put it in the chat. We are monitoring it as well. All right, Senior, you can continue.
Yes, I am already in presenter mode.
So we can see your screen at the moment.
Yes, I think there are complaints about me being presenter mode, but I am. So
I think at a point your slide were not moving when you were moving, but I think now we see the justification page. That's where we can see.
Yes, so.
Okay, so now it has gone back to the main page, cover page.
Still in presentation mode. Okay.
Yes, so now we can see the cover page. So if you move can you move your slide and let's see if that works?
Maybe it's my internet, but I am moving my slides. I don't know if you can see that.
Okay, so at the moment it's not moving, so maybe the internet is lagging.
Right.
Okay, so I think we see you on the slide 3 now.
Is it better?
I think when you go to presentation mode, it takes you to the cover page. But I think when you move from there, we can't see anything. So it will be fine if you can just be in the normal mode, and let's see if that works.
Yes, yeah. So I'm now on my 3rd slide. Is that fine?
Yes, we see your 3rd slide now.
Right, so
this is my shoe rack.
Ah, can I continue?
Yes, you can go ahead.
Right. So, like I said, the link is there if members want more details on blue surveying and what it entails. So target 6.1, safe and affordable drinking water is what I'm speaking out to. Now, Ghana Water's profile, the vision of the company remains to be a world-class utility. Now, in achieving this, our mandate is to supply potable water to all the urban areas in the nation. Areas of our core business are highlighted there. This includes asset management, and part of our assets are water distribution assets. So geospatial professionals are very key in ensuring that these assets are adequately mapped and archived into a robust spatial decision support system. The next slide shows the spatial distribution of our somewhat 91 systems. When I say a system, it means where we abstract water from and treat before we send to the consuming public. On the right-hand side, it's a description of the management of the company, how we've metamorphosed from a public works department in 1928.
I think we're still not,
right?
I think you're
still not seeing.
Yes. Right. So if you can go off the presentation mode and then be in the normal mode. Yes.
All right. Can you see now? I'm on slide 6, right?
Yes. Yes, we can see now.
Okay. So the company operates currently 91 urban water systems, totally abstracting water and treating and churning out to the public an estimated 320 million cubic meters of clean water every year. We distribute this water to a consuming public of around 900,000 customer connections. Now, this treated water passes through mostly buried pipelines of 13,500 kilometers of network infrastructure. Now, we have about 5,000 staff helping us to maintain all these assets and ensuring that we constantly reduce our non-revenue water, which is now currently, as at the end of last year, standing around 43%. I'll explain what non-revenue water means later. Now, the next slide shows our business process. Now, we abstract water and treat from all raw water sources. Now, raw water sources can either be surface or groundwater sources. Now, I will use this business process to also explain the role of geospatial professionals along all these chains. Now, for the abstraction points, we employ geospatial professionals are involved in employing drone technology in making sure that we manage our catchment in conjunction with the water resource management department. Now, we fly these drones and use many other remote sensing processes to ensure that we monitor what is happening at the catchment, because it's very key. Catchment activities are key in affecting the kind of treatment that we do. At the treatment plants as well, we assist with providing clear process flow diagrams. You know, water treatment goes through various stages of processes. For instance, it goes through screens. After screens, we have sedimentation processes. There's coagulation, flocculation, and then the water then settles before we disinfect and churn out to the public. Filtration processes as well. So throughout all these processes, there's a need to know the process flows. And sometimes we use employ card drawings to be able to make sure that those processes are very accurately documented and archived. Now, when the water is treated and distributed, it's taken through relatively large transmission networks, very, very huge pipelines of varying diameters, sometimes as large as over 1,000 diameter pipelines. Now, these pipeline trajectories are mapped with the assistance of geospatial professionals. These are mapped, these lines pass through bushes, and in an ideal case, transport treated water to reservoirs which are located on high elevated areas. So geospatial professionals are also involved in determining the spot heights and the locations, the elevations of these reservoirs. From there, ideally, the water is also moved through relatively smaller distribution pipes into the homes of the consuming public. Geospatial professionals are involved in mapping these distribution lines and appurtenances. What we mean by pipe appurtenances are the valves, which are like very big taps. If I want to bring it down to me, solar zone. The fire hydrants, which are operated, as you know, in firefighting activities by the Ghana National Fire Service, as well as flow meters and many other such. So geospatial professionals are involved in mapping all these assets. Now, one major asset of a water utility company are its customers. So the consuming public obviously have locations. Now we need to send water to them at their various locations. So geospatial professionals are involved in mapping all the locations of the consuming public. When we transmit water to these consumers, we apply an applicable tariff. And this is regulated by a commission called PURC. So we are regulated by them in making sure that appropriate tariffs are applied in various customer categories like domestic customers, commercial, industrial customers. And we expect that due to the amount of money we spend in treating this water and transporting this water, we expect our customers to also honor the bills that are delivered to them. I'd like to highlight just a summary of our challenges as a water utility. Now, raw water pollution, example that alluvial mining I've spoken about. Now, we have challenges in managing huge networks of discrete systems. We have high non-revenue water. I'll just try to explain what high non-revenue water means. Non-revenue water just refers to water that is produced that GWCL or GWL doesn't actually get revenue for. So we spend money buying chemicals, we spend money distributing, buying pumps, we spend money on electricity, as well as other operational costs to be able to send water to the consuming public. But we revenue for all that money that we spend. So to bring it down to layman terms, let's say you have a bottle of water, the 500 ml bottle of water. If you spend, let's say, 10 cedis to be able to get that water in this hole, and you're able to push it to the end user or the customer, you actually expect to get a minimum of 10 cedis for the amount of investment that you've made. So if you will go and you build a customer tariff and you end up getting 8 cedis for this, you have a revenue loss of about 2. And that is usually expressed as a percent volume that is released into the network, what we call an NRV. So that's the summary or a brief explanation of what non-revenue water means. So high non-revenue water is one of our challenges. We also had a few operational challenges. Some of them include our response time to our bursts and leakages. Most customers complain that when there's a burst, they report to the company and we don't attend to them properly. All these contribute in making sure that we have, all these contribute in high non-revenue water. They contribute to our water loss issues. Now, secondly, pipeline replacement challenges is also an issue for some to deal with because of limited funding. New service delays as well, and a few challenges associated with some of our distribution issues. The last one is inadequate deployment of technology to manage our commercial business. So like I explained with the previous slide, we need to get enough funds to be able to run our business. Now, prior to an implementation of a project, it was a challenge to be able to monitor all the commercial activities that go on in the company. Commercial activities really begin from meter reading, then billing, as well as payment. Those are the three main issues that form the commercial business that we work on. Now, the next slide shows a few of the challenges I've lamented. To throw more light on the water source issue, there's a graph, a chart that shows raw water turbidity and alum dosage values. Now, it may look a bit complicated, but from the slide, from the chart, we can see that this is in reference to one of our raw water sources at the Pra River, the famous Pra River, which is challenged with galamsey or alluvial gold mining. The chart shows averagely 150 NTU being recorded as the turbidity value. Now, turbidity is an indicator of the pollution in the source water. Now, to let people understand what 350 NTU means, I can liken it to another source like Lake Volta, which isn't so much challenged with galamsey, where we are recording pre-treatment turbidity values of around between 1 to 10. Another rivers Rhine in Germany, where you record between 1 to 5. Now, presently, even as we speak this year, averagely we are recording about 700, between 500 to 700 NTU in that same catchment, which is the Pra River Basin. Of what water quality effects have had on the company. Now, I move to the next slide, which is the mainstay of why we are here. After giving of the company, what we do, and highlighting most of our, I'd like to speak about notable solutions that have happened in the last decade, the last 5 years. Now, for the first one is geospatial technology for managing water distribution networks and customer data. SCADA systems for hydraulic data acquisition and management. Now, these SCADA systems, which stand for supervisory control and data acquisition, are built or were installed on the work by geospatial professionals in the industry. So there was the need for all the geospatial professionals to work hard to ensure that all the assets, the water spoken about, are mapped and are put in a robust spatial decision support system to be able to let the company move to a next level of employing SCADA to manage our hydraulic data systems. And finally, there was the development of customer-based systems for managing meter reading, billing, and collection. So I'll highlight them one after the other. So for geospatial technology applications in operations, we've done asset validation. Based on these assets that have been validated, valve operational status monitoring updates, pipeline maintenance, leakage reporting and management, integrated network modeling, as well as water quality monitoring can be done. This slide shows you the digitization transition that has happened. I mean, prior to in the year 2010 and before, paper maps, and you are all how difficult it is to manage and work with these. Now, the story is such that these days we've digitized all these, scanned them, geo-referenced where we ought to, and we've ensured that we can professionally work with data, retrieve them, do analysis on them, and suggest and make decisions by management based on these data. I'd like to spend more time on this slide to explain how we go about our processes. Now, there's the need to go, after archiving this data, we load most of the paper maps onto our GNSS devices. After loading them onto the GNSS devices, we go out to the field to do what we call asset validation. Now, that process involves going with the experienced fieldmen in areas where there's a disparity between what has been assets are there. Now, when we map, you can see from the slide all sorts of All different types of assets are mapped, including pipelines, flow meters, reducers, flanges, reservoirs. These types of reservoirs are mapped and are archived into the spatial decision support system that we have. When this data is acquired, we then return to the office and we have documented workflow processes, whereby we go through how to set up our GNSS device before we go onto the field, how to download, process, and edit data, and go on to do all sorts of other processes that are relevant to. It's important that I highlight here that we have the company through investment has employed, we all know that as part of a component is software. The company has invested in proprietary software. We use Esri ArcGIS platforms. We have an Esri enterprise platform and various field applications such as Survey 123 and the Workforce app, whereby based on the data that has been mapped by the geospatial professionals, professionals also go a step further to train fieldsmen, workers and the fieldsmen on running updates on the status of some of these pipeline appurtenances. So again, the hydrant's operational status is required to be known by management because of the collaboration with the Ghana office. So it's important that a fieldman will take a mobile device, go into the field. After he operates any appurtenance, he updates whatever operational activity has taken place. The geospatial professional in turn in the office will ensure that there's a reconciliation with what is on the enterprise platform. So we document these processes that we actually go through. We publish some of our data on the web service to be able to also do something in dashboard creation. We create dashboards for managers and distribution managers who are in the office to actually understand what is happening in the field in real. So the next slide I'm showing is an example of some of these dashboards that we speak about. Activity that is happening in one of our regions, new service activity. So at any time, a distribution manager or a district manager can log on, or a chief manager of the region can log on and actually, in the comfort of his office, get feedback on what is happening in the field towards new service mapping. This slide also shows pipeline maintenance. A distribution manager or a district manager can log on his device, go on the ArcGIS portal, which the company has invested so much in, and also see the status of all pipelines happening in his jurisdiction of supervision. Now, this can help the manager at any time team or replacement of any such appurtenance. Some of these dashboards provide an addition and enhanced reports for such requests to the head office when they are made. So the next slide also shows some of our mobile interfaces that I spoke about. There are three particular mobile applications on Esri platforms. I'm sure some of you are familiar with that we use here in Ghana Water. There's the Survey 123 Workforce app. So we deploy web maps that we create for relevant areas, and we train the fieldsmen to actually do the updates. We in most cases do reconciliation so that the data can be familiar with and relevant for the supervisors for decision making. Now, another area I'd like to speak about is integrated network modeling. Now, as part of a spatial decision support system, geospatial professional is key in picking the raw or base data. When that base data that I've described in previous slides is acquired, there is a need as a water company to run simulations. Now, some of them use as a company, we use Synergy simulation software for drinking water systems. Now, what that does in layman terms is it helps you to be able to forecast, the hydraulic behavior of your network, and also make appropriate decisions concerning sizing of pipes, the pipe that you want to use, site reservoirs, and all other such appurtenances that are necessary to make sure that the water network operates optimally. Yeah. So for managing and understanding the hydraulic behavior of the network, for simulating expected outcomes on extensions, just go and install or bury 4-inch or actually do some studies and estimate the demand, know the population that we are going to supply the water to. Geospatial professionals are key in determining elevations of these populations, these properties and premises where they are. Now, all those parameters are input parameters that are necessary for these simulations to be run. We run the simulations and we get information on what sort we need to acquire, what sizes, what lengths, to be able to ensure that the customer at the end of the day gets optimum supply while maintaining over the period. So it's very necessary that we highlight the impact that geospatial professionals have in this sector. Now, for SCADA systems, like I explained, SCADA stands for Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition. Now, the geospatial professionals have been able to acquire and map all these assets and have put them in a robust SDSS system like I've described. Now, based on this accurately acquired information, which is very important that I point out that we employ core correction core stations. It has also invested in an MOU with some institutions to be able to supply corrections on the fly. I'm sure you're all geospatial professionals, you are quite aware of what I'm talking about. So robust SDSS system has been built. It's important that we relay information of the hydraulic behavior to decision makers. Now, an example of the investment in SCADA is the Gamma project, whereby the World Bank sponsored the setup of a control room in our 37 office in Accra. Now, this control room has devices, and as you can see, parameters such as flow, pressure, and level are transmitted remotely to this control room. Now, it's built such a way that managers and decision makers can also get text messages via their phones of the hydraulic behavior and are updated in a timely manner as to what is happening in the field. Now, these flow meters so we have flow meters, which in a way help us to quantify volumes that are moving from one jurisdiction to the other. There are pressure sensors as well, and also there's one level. All of these were installed in the Gamma region. Now, prior to this, what was happening, to give you a good understanding, we had a control room that had operators in the field taking readings and transmitting these readings via phone. So an operator takes a Motorola, and then whatever reading is happening in the field calls his colleague operator or someone in the control room who takes these readings via phone and records them manually. Now, when that record is, it is transferred to a book, after which it is inputted into Excel. Now, this data is taken for engineers and managers to take decisions. So you can imagine the accessibility to error. So this system have been employed, but for the work of geospatial professionals in providing the base data, the location of all these appurtenances and pipelines. If that data wasn't there, there's no way you can go a step further to employ SCADA system to remotely transmit information to the key decision makers. Reading, billing, and payment. Now, our commercial process begins, for instance, with applications, what we call a prospective customer. So a customer comes, apply, they fill application forms, and then we take their telephone number and we track them. Now, the intervention that has happened, every region ensures that this prospective, the location of this prospective customer is mapped. So we map the location of this prospective customer. It helps us in so many ways. One of the ways is that we are able to vet the distances, because you're a prospective customer, you want to be connected to our grid. There will be a distance, the bill that will be sent to you will be mainly based on other factors. But it will be mainly based on the distance between our main pipeline, that's our grid, and where you live. So if a geospatial professional trains an estimator as to how to ensure that he maps the location of the prospective customer accurately, it helps the company a long way save costs. That is one. And also monitoring mechanisms are there. Now, if you're a prospective customer and we map your location, and per our regulator's caveats that he's given us, we have a timeline we are supposed to provide you the service. If we haven't done that, in the past, you had to always make sure you followed up on us. But now that geospatial professionals have assisted, it's easy for us to, as a company, independently track our prospective customers, because we are also, like I mentioned earlier, in a business. Because we are in a business, it's important that we track these customers and ensure that we bring them onto our grid. I spoke about non-revenue water earlier. You may have some customers who may be, because of one or two delays, will want to connect. Now, once we've mapped you, it's easy for us to track where you are and follow up and ensure that punitive measures are put in place. Now, another area, so when you're a prospective customer, you now become a registered customer. Account numbering is also an issue. Most of our account numbers, now, I have to explain what account number means. It's the unique identifier for you. I'm sure you all understand database management. Every customer to us can be identified by an account number. Now, the account number nomenclature, usually about 12 digits, is created based on where you are located. So you have, for Ashanti region, an account number of 0106. The 01 shows you are located in the Ashanti region. 06 may show the district in which you are located. So I'm just trying to emphasize this to show you that either the company was just assigning account numbers, fine, there was a format being done. But with the application of geospatial technology, all this numbering and all these things are based on the location of a key asset, which is the customer. Now, for meter reading processes, what was happening in the past was that a meter reader comes to your house, and within a billing cycle, he reads your meter manually. He records in a book. He does that for all the customers that are under his jurisdiction. Now, when he gets to the office, he transfers all these readings into another book, which is then collated and taken by the supervisor to the regional office. All these, when it gets to the regional office, we have data entry clerks who enter these readings into a system. Now, after these readings are entered, the bills are then generated based on the difference between the consumption for each cycle. I hope you understand. For instance, in January, if I come to your house and I have a meter reading of 9, the following month I can have a meter reading of 10. 10 minus 9 will give me 1. So that means you've consumed 1 cubic for that billing cycle. That was being done. Now, I'm sure you can all attest to the fact that various errors can be identified in all these processes. So to remove and minimize the human factor in this, the company in 2020 2016, entered into an SAS software as a system agreement to be able to assist us build a system, a billing system, a comprehensive billing system, which will link the location of the customer, the commercial database. I hope that's clear. You know, as GIS professionals, we all know that data mainly can be categorized into two. The spatial data is where you are, and then the attribute data is everything that concerns that location. So attribute data in this instance, like I spoke about, your account number, you are located, your service category, which could be whether you are a domestic customer, an industrial customer, your service, the customer status, whether you are disconnected or you are active or you've been put on suspense. All those attributes are linked now with the help of geospatial professionals who have trained field workers, which we call meter readers, to be able to map these locations. So validation and verification of these customers, the almost 900,000 customers that I spoke about, was done and completed in 2016. And since then, this system has helped us to be able to be able to improve upon our revenue generation efforts. Now, to highlight finally, there are so many things I can speak about, but for lack of time, to highlight finally on what we are doing in the commercial area, arrears management. Now, there are customers, you know, unlike electricity, which have gone further with prepaid systems, we bill you after you've consumed our water. It's important to go and ensure that lots of companies who owe us so much pay us our monies. This process, meter readers had a lot of power in their hands. Fine, some of our most of them are very, very hardworking. But when the company left most of its fate into the hands of these, why do I say that? Because we didn't independently know where most of the customers were located. This also affected our customer service approaches. A customer comes to report to you an issue, and without the assistance of the meter reader, you cannot trace the customer's premise. And now the implementation of this, at any time, CT, any supervisor or any manager can navigate from the slide, the Google image in the middle there. You can navigate to any customer where you have queries or where you see inconsistencies in the billing and also investigate further. On the right is a hard copy map of what we call a debtors map. Now you see the icons there, which represent, the larger the icon, the higher the debt. So we train our commercial supervisors on how to be able to read these hard copy maps. And those who are really tech savvy, give them the KMZ files for them to navigate to these areas. So whenever we do our arrears management, what we call our task force operations, we can independently ask lots and lots of money without the assistance of the field agents. And that has really impacted on our revenue generation processes. So to summarize, this is just year ending 2022. I've spoken quite a lot about the assets that we mapped. So for pipelines, we mapped a total of around 11,340 kilometers nationwide out of the estimated 13,000. We mapped 9,800. We mapped 1,349 hydrants. And I'm sure if you're in Ghana in recent times, you know about the infernos which have hit our markets, KJTR and Makola, to mention a few. So mapping of these, so geospatial professionals are key in helping Ghana Water identify the location of their hydrants and liaising with Ghana National Fire Service to ensure that the customer, the public is attended to. We've also, with the assistance of the hardworking leaders, locate and verify 854,496 out of the estimated 900,000 customers that we have. And we've mapped over 15,000 water quality sampling points as well as at year ending 2022. Now, before I go to my concluding slide, I'm sure some of you are professionals. I hope I haven't bored you so much, but I just want to discuss briefly some of the opportunities that exist I've highlighted the source water issues. I mean, there are a few articles that have given some of our water sources like the white water and the white water basin, and the Pra basin. There are reports that, they are under threat. Surface water volumes estimated about 50%. The white water has a rough surface water volume of around 116,000 cubic square meters, and the Pra basin of just over 20,000 square cubic meters. Now, research points to the fact that by the 2050s, about 50% of this volume, surface volumes, would have been lost. So the company is always appealing to the consuming public to help us maintain. For geospatial professionals, we will need their help in actually estimating accurate volumes, because siltation is one major problem affecting quite a substantial amount of our 91 systems or 91 sources that we get water from. Siltation is a big issue. So as geospatial professionals, those with expertise in hydrographic and bathymetric surveys can come and package something together. We have a hardworking PPD department where they can put something together to be able to help us estimate accurate volumes of silt that we have at our plants. Now, when these volumes are estimated, our operations unit can ensure appropriate dredging is done, because you can't just dredge for me. You need to tell a contractor or a consultant to dredge so and so volume. With the help of the geospatial professional, that you can actually accurately determine that. So to end my story, all I'm trying to say, Ghana Water has very hardworking departments, about 13 or so of them. This is not in any way to indict the departments. The whole team works very hard. But this brief story just highlights the impact that, the less than 5% professionals within the company's workforce have had, and the collaboration that we've had with other departments to ensure that over a 5-year period, from year 2017 to, there has been a revenue increase of about 34%. Yes, acknowledge that tariff increases have come over the period, but this is what has been documented. And if you are in the water supply industry, you will know that a reduction of non-revenue water, which I explained earlier, of about 8% is quite significant. So I like to end by showing some of the references. So that's the link there, the link to the article that was submitted in the FIG conference. The link is there, and references that were relevant to writing this paper. I'd like to end finally by acknowledging some key managers and, very importantly, my hardworking team, my colleagues from the Upper East region all the regions across. Now, for a GI system to work, one major, and we've gone through training, a lot of investment has been made by top management. Significant investment was the investment in the System for Network Water Expansion Project in 2018, which ensured that all major components, which include hardware, software, were invested in. Now, if you have leaders who don't believe in investing money in the results, so it's important that we acknowledge these leaders. And I also acknowledge my hardworking colleagues. Thank you very much. I'd like to hear any questions.
Thank you very much, Engineer Dochi. I think this is a transformation indeed. And we hope that we get more direction from the questions that is going to come from the audience. Before we go to the questions, let me say that if you have questions, please put it in the comment section. I'll be reading the questions from there. Also, I want to repeat the announcement we gave before we started again. So Ghana Geospatial Society will be having its annual seminar in November, where everyone will be inducted. Everyone is entreated to fill the register and submit all relevant documents through the website. So the website has been posted in the chat room. So for this batch, which is going to be the first batch, there will be no examination, only the documents will be vetted. So it's very important that you make sure your documents are uploaded and they are complete. Further details regarding this would be given to you on subsequent basis. Secondly, starting 22nd of August, 7 p.m. each day, continuously for 2 weeks, we would be having a Python training, which is supposed to be a preparatory state for a further training that is going to take people or give people the opportunity to learn how to apply Python skills in cloud computing. And so if you are interested, we will be sending the invites and then the flyers around. If you are interested, kindly register as soon as possible so we can be able to estimate the number and how we can manage the training as well. If you know someone who will be interested, we are also grateful if you share with that person. All right, so we have some few questions. We would take those questions and then see what time will give us. So the first question we have is, what is the level of GIS database collaboration with Lands Commission in role protection? That role is ROW. I think it's an abbreviation for something.
Right away, yeah.
Yeah, into role protection and management. Someone is asking that, I think Kingsley. So is there any level of collaboration between Lands Commission and the Ghana Water Company?
Well, I'm sure my colleagues ahead of us, Michael is around, he can speak to that, but a little I can say is ROW protection, as far as I know, I could be wrong, I stand for correction. There's RECT and NECT, National Engineering Council. I don't know whether they are really dealing with that. Now, Ghana Water as an entity, like I said, maybe Michael or my colleagues in head office can speak to that. Do not really do. But what happens, as far as I'm concerned, being in operations, is the collaboration is now coming up. You know, entities that also deal with the right of much more room for improvement as far as from where I sit. So you'll be in your office and you get a memo minuted to you for you to provide locations of Ghana GWCL assets whenever there are proposals for road rehabilitations that they feel may affect your assets. Now, I don't know whether that helps answers your question, but if Michael or anybody from the head office who's online can respond to that.
Okay, so Kingsley, if you are not satisfied with the question, you can send a follow-up, and then if we need Michael or the other people to respond, we can let them do. The next question is, someone would like to know if Ghana Water Company monitors sediment transport. And if you do, which stations do you do that? If you don't, why don't you do it?
Yes, so sediment transport, I'm not very sure what exactly if by you are in the generality talking about pollutants and how they move. Yes, water quality labs in almost every single region that we work in. So as part of their water quality assurance team operations, they go and they pick samples from catch tap, the United Nations entreats us to do that. So as part of what these laboratory workers go and pick samples all the way from the catchment, the treatment plant, along the distribution line, like I explained in my slide that shows our business process, all the way to the customer's tap. Now, when this sampling is done, geospatial professionals go and ensure that the locations of where these sampling points are picked are mapped. So when these locations are mapped, what we can do is we can generate a heat map that will, for instance, show you one of the parameters that we monitor. So for instance, pH the pH of water from one plant to the other, the treatment plant till it gets to your tap can be monitored. The map can be generated out of that. Likewise, the color. Likewise, another parameter like turbidity. Chlorine. So you know the residual chlorine level at the treatment plant, along the transmission system, within the distribution network, and at your tap. So when something is happening, because you see, what can happen is along a pipeline, there can be a pipe break, and it may require our maintenance staff to go and repair this break. Repair is done, maybe by mistake, some of these sediments or some of these impurities may get in. So when you monitor these, when you map the locations of these sampling points, it actually informs management, the water quality staff, as well as the district management, to know appropriate flashing mechanisms that they need to, based on the feedback that these maps can give them. I hope it's clear. I hope that's what you were asking.
Okay, we don't have the opportunity for the person to give us that, but if you ask that question, I think Frank asked that question. Frank, if you ask that question and you think you have a follow-up, kindly put it there, and then we would take it there. Okay, so there's another question which says, he first of all acknowledged and says it's very interesting presentation, but he's wondering, don't you think it would be good to introduce a system where your customers will be able to send their own meter readings to also reduce the risk of human error with respect to billing? Also, with respect to water quality, how are you dealing with the problem of indiscriminate disposal of waste that threatens water quality?
Yes, Makumbe, yeah. Maybe I didn't explain quite well. So we have a system currently in place whereby the human error, now there's a two-step validation process when a meter reader, our field agent, comes to your customer's premise to read your meter. He enters the value, could be an error, he's asked to repeat the value, he's asked to take a picture of the value that he's reading. Now, all these are linked. Now, prior to us having the system, like I said, you would have a few meter readers who, for one reason or the other, may not actually visit the premise. Because in a manual system, he can sit in the comfort of his home, what we termed a lot of money under commercial current losses, we call them. So yes, we have a system right now due to the assistance and the inputs of geospatial professionals that ensures that the meter reading, the human errors are reduced. Now, I am aware of systems in advanced countries whereby customers themselves can transmit their own readings, and I'm sure management is considering such things. It's for head office to take such decisions. But to answer your question, in terms of reducing the risk of human errors, yes, we believe that electronic billing system in 2016 has somewhat reduced drastically the human errors, but there's still more room for improvement. And with respect to water quality, indiscriminate disposal of waste that threaten water quality. So like I said, geospatial professionals have helped to be able to do catchment monitoring by employing drone technology. So as well as mapping of sampling locations. So we do that as well. And that helps in ensuring that water quality assurance is achieved.
Okay. All right. So Stella Mpofu wants to know what is your comment on open data policy? Do you, is water quality sampling data, for instance, available for external research?
Yes, Stella. You would have to just research process, just draft a letter and direct it to appropriate quarters. We have various regional offices. So wherever you are interested in, whichever jurisdiction, just address it, and I'm sure you'll be assisted. There's a data protection policy of the company, but you just have to apply, and I'm sure you'll be getting the data that you need.
Frank Tay is also requesting if your slide would be shared so they can have a look at it.
Yes, why not?
Okay. I think there are some other questions in the general public. So it says that, do you have a public portal on the digital system you describe in your presentation where the public can send inquiries and reports faults, like send their geolocations and pictures of faults, example, broken pipelines?
Yes, we do. My apologies. There's a customer app. If you go to Google Play Store and just search through Ghana Water Customer app, it's working quite well. We've gotten some positive feedback. So I think I apologize. I should have included that. So yes, that platform also employs places where you can actually pay your water bills. The Momo applications for making payments for water bills is there, as well as seeing locations of best pipes. It's all on the customer app. So please feel free and go on Google Play Store.
Okay, that's fine. If we're in Chua Ambassador, I'm sure is a person I know. So you heard from Engineer Dochi. I think sorry, I missed some of your questions because you posted it in the general webinar chat. So I'm trying to pick it now. So Jacob is asking, he says that thank you for your presentation, but he's asking, apart from mapping the water sampling point, can you touch on some of the ways GIS can be helpful in protecting water quality in this era of rampant small-scale mining? And is the company currently working on any projects in that regard?
Yes, good question. So, like I said, there's a water quality and a water resource department. We currently undertook through some MOU, the company invested in ensuring that all the geospatial professionals are trained further on drone mapping, taking drone images and drone shots for catchment monitoring thing. But drone mapping as well is also, drone mapping training is being done. Now, this, I can give you an example. Since we've invested in these drones, there have been one or two scenarios whereby, I had a few colleagues of mine in the Western region. They lost a few drones when the Galamsey or the alluvial gold mining people saw them flying the drones. They had to attack these drones. So apart from what we do within the distribution network, that's what we do to track the mapping that we do to assist the water quality department to track and ensure all the parameters are adhering to the national standards given them. Catchment studies also help us, so that we can assist the water resource department to be able to identify and help minimize, the threats of pollution. I don't know if that helps.
Okay. So Felix wants to find out what is the rationale behind the use of hard copy maps or KMZ files in conjunction with the SG enterprise system that you have. Is there any specific reason for this approach? And then are you having any issues navigating to customers' location with the SG mobile application itself?
Sorry, I didn't hear the second part of the question.
So he wants to know, he's thinking that the SG system, enterprise system, is comprehensive enough to do all the work, but then what is the rationale behind the paper map and then the KMZ files? Whether the SG, you're having challenges with using the SG for that purpose?
Okay, I understand. Now, change management. We have personnel within our offices, okay? I would say, number one, change management, and secondly, funding, okay? You have to be able to identify your colleagues very well within the districts. When I say district, sometimes, the bottom level, the operational level. It is not everybody who has an Android phone in this day and age. So when we go out and we train Ghana Water staff, field staff, supervisors, we ensure that the training is done in twofold. Who are technologically savvy, who can interpret, who can use navigation, and those as well who are used to their paper maps. You don't want to leave anybody behind. But yes, we are making the effort to ensure in all these applications, field maps, workforce apps, survey 3, we move everybody along, but it's going to take a while. The second issue of funding is I told you my 5,000 staff, and quite a number of these are field workers. If you want to ensure that everybody goes on the Esri platform, you need to provide devices for them online almost all the time. So that is also funding. So maybe if customers appreciate what we do and pay their, can generate enough funds to make sure that everybody from hard copy maps onto the software or the Esri Enterprise platform. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. What are some of the specific examples of how GIS has aided in identifying vulnerable areas of water scarcity? From James.
Yes, so our mandate, like I showed in one of our slides, just at the catchment, and then from the treatment plant all the way to the customer's premise. So geospatial professionals ensure that whatever work we do is in that sector. Now, what you're asking of, if I get you correctly, has more to do with the Water Resource Commission. And I'm sure there'll be other geospatial colleagues who work there to ensure that the pollution, water scarcity issues are taken care of. But to say that, there's remote sensing. I have colleagues in other sectors who employ GIS technology to make sure that, the river head, but that is actually the mandate of our sister organizations like the Water Resource Commission. We start just at the catchment and the intake point where we do our abstraction.
Okay. So I think there's another question on collaboration again, but this time around not with Lands Commission, but rather the road agencies, highway and urban roads or feeder roads. He's saying that whenever there's a new construction, we get a lot of pipe burst issues. What is the level of collaboration between Ghana Water and these road agencies to ensure, probably to ensure that these communications are exchanged?
That's my brother Gamali, who was with me when I was doing the presentation. Yeah. So there's a lot of collaboration. There's a lot of collaboration between DUR and GHA. Like I explained before, I wasn't there, but I can speak as someone within operations. You'll be there and you get a memo that you're supposed to go and set out the locations of your buried pipe because there's a highway project coming. So DUR also does same. But yes, from the public, I'm sure there's more room for improvement. We have lots of collaborations. Sometimes our colleagues at DUR, we laugh with them that they cut our pipes and we also sometimes damage their asphalted roads because most of the pipes installed in 1928, and majority of these pipelines, which are cast iron pipelines, are in the middle of the road. And if anybody knows Cape Coast quite well, the roads are really, really narrow. So if there's a shortage or there's a problem, there's a pipe burst of the road, Department of Urban Roads very beautifully. You have no option but to spoil the road. You cut the pavement, you damage the pavement to be able to repair the leak so that consumers will enjoy the supply. So urban roads are not happy when we do that. And like they are also fixing new roads. Some of our pipelines are there. Occasionally, some of their contractors damage our pipelines. So there is collaboration, but I admit there's more room for improvement.
Okay. So there's still questions on artisanal small-scale mining. So Felix is wondering if there's currently any GIS monitoring system or any GIS monitoring activity that is trying to monitor trying to monitor the operations around your site or assets. Do you take any peculiar interest in monitoring artisanal small-scale mining around your pipe or probably your assets that you have?
Yes, I thought I already answered. Yes, so my colleague in Western Region, Emmanuel, reported, I think he lost a drone or two, as part of, the collaboration with the Water Resource Department of our company in monitoring, I think around Daboase. I stand for correction. So the artisanal small-scale miners were at work, broad daylight. They saw the drone flying and they thought, government is against this thing. So they flew all sorts of things to the drone and we lost the drone. So yes, we have as a company, even though that is really actually collaborative efforts with Water Resource Commission, we have invested in making sure that we monitor some of these things and we have had casualty. So that is evidence that yes, as a company, we have gone that direction.
Okay. Is there underground data with regards to your pipelines? Do you have data on your underground pipes?
Oh, yes. From what I said, like I described, we wouldn't know that we've mapped 11,000 or so kilometers of pipe network. Majority of our pipes, quite a very small amount, maybe 5% is exposed. The remaining 95% is buried. So as part of our process, the hardworking geospatial professionals like first load this data onto our GNSS devices, the sketches or the as-built maps that have been provided. And then we go to field to do the validation. There are cases whereby if there are discrepancies because of the quality standards that we set, we do some excavation to verify the dimensions and all the other attributes. So yes, underground pipelines, most of our pipelines are underground. We have them in that robust SDSS that we describe.
Okay, thank you. So there's this last question, which says, how is Ghana Water Company dealing with illegal connection in the geospatial context?
Yes, I hope I can summarize this briefly and don't say much. So illegal connection falls under a category we call, as part of our non-revenue water, illegal connections fall under a category we call apparent losses. So what we do is there are some ways by which through a geospatial context we can address this. An example is even what I described in the electronic billing system. You may see some inconsistency in data. Now, because the geospecialists have helped us link that data with the location, illegal connections can independently visit these locations and find out whatever it is that they want to find out. Now, there are also what we call fiscal losses. Fiscal loss is the fiscal loss, the pipe burst and the fiscal water that you see going waste. We have something we call DMA management. Now, DMA just stands for district metered areas. So we zone our administrative operations in smaller boundaries. Why smaller boundaries? Because we are losing water, but we want to be able to manage and understand how much water, what volume is being lost where. So we break down our network into smaller zones, what we call a DME. Now, so if I break into 4 zones, and let's say I have Nima, I have Tesano. Now I know maybe 50 cubic meters, just for an example, is going into Tesano for this month. When I sum up all the customers in Tesano, I should be able to get, give and take, maybe this 50 cubic that I have a master meter on, this volume, the volume should be the same. Now, the difference will tell me if I get a difference of, let's say, 10 cubic meters in Tesano, and I get a difference of, let's say, 30 cubic meters in Nima, I don't have enough funds, but I want to be able to address these illegal connections which are hidden. So I will be able to tell the top management that, I'm losing 30 cubic over this period in this area. So I want to prioritize that. Or I can also say, let me go and attend to the 10 cube that I'm losing in Tessalon because it will be easier for me to address that. So that in a way will affect your non-revenue water, which we've described. So those are the things that we've implemented that has culminated in our 8% achievement. So all these illegal connections are hidden in these locations. And from it's geospatial because they are locations. You put a meter somewhere. The customers are located somewhere. They have geospatial, they have attribute data which has been put together into a system somewhere. Now, when we call out all this information, data to top management for them to make their decisions. So yes, geospatial, very, very vital in dealing with these pipe leaks as well as these illegal connections.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we've consumed our time. We estimated that we would spend an hour and a half, and I think we've had an interesting section. We've had a lot of education. Those of us who are not closely involved with water-related activities at least have been educated. Those of us who are related to water sector has also seen what Ghana Water Company is doing. Probably ideas you can pick from there. Probably you are also doing something that you want to share with them. That's fine. I think I have two questions. One has been asked by James, which I'll ask that one as last. But I wanted to understand the customer mapping. How do you do it? Do you take the GPS of the customer, or you are dealing on the meter level?
Francis.
Yes, can you hear me?
I think your line was breaking, so can you repeat the question?
Yes, so I was asking the customer mapping, the mapping of the customers. Do you when you say customers, are you mapping the individuals or the meter?
Yes, so we map the meter. Now, what we do is, these meter readers. So we train them, we teach them what mapping means, we teach them accuracies, we just give them to their level what they are supposed to know. And for every customer, and there's a customer and there's a household. I need to explain that to people so that you understand. When we say we have average 900,000 customers and we serve the urban population, it's important that we relate the two. So averagely per the census data that we have, in a particular customer, you may have a household of about 4 to 6 people. Now, so mapping the customer doesn't mean mapping the individual. We usually map the meter and its location. So in your house, you may have a meter located. So we train the meter readers to go and stand directly on the meter location and map them. Now, when that is done, the application that we are working with, the software that we are working with, enables geofencing. So what that means is that the meter reader can no longer sit in his house and assign a reading to you, the customer. The meter reader has to ensure that he's within a range, usually about maybe 10 to 20 meters of your premise. So 10 to 20 meters off the meter location in your house.
Okay.
Very hard at that. That for one or two reasons may not have meters. So we train them to stand in the middle of that premise. Yes. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes, very well, because I was wondering how that, when you said customer, because to us as lay people, customer is people. So I needed to understand that. The last question is, now it's been a long way for Ghana Water so far. What do you think are the necessary advancements? What are the future GIS applications you envision, or it's in the pipeline, that you think is going to revolutionize the management and practices of Ghana Water Company?
Yes, personally, well, I was privileged to have been at the Esri User Conference quite recently, and it's amazing the advancement. They are talking about digital twins, geo AI. So as for technology, if you follow technology, there's so much to do, even in the utility sector. Now, a lot of people have gone ArcGIS Pro. At least, thankfully, thanks to management, we as a company have invested in ArcGIS Enterprise. But and you realize if you speak to the global geospatial community, those who are using ArcGIS platforms, a lot of people are no longer doing ArcGIS desktop, ArcGIS map. A lot are going pro. And pro has a lot of functionalities, including geometric network management. There's so much. A hard-working team. I have colleagues all around the country who are working hard. And what's important for some of you listening is that it's important as geospatial professionals, we appeal to our managers and those who may not really have the background, the impacts that geospatial technology can do for every single business. So the future, yes, is tight. We are working hard to ensure that non-revenue water, which is a key indicator, is reduced further. I hope that answers the question.
Yes, very well. So we hope we're looking forward to further advancements where probably there would be another presentation on where you've gone, where you've reached from this point that you've actually taken us to. Right. And I know that there's a lot of other stuff that the audience may be involved in, which could also be one or two clues that would help in the advancement. I think it's very important for us to share knowledge. So if you are within the audience and you do, I know there are people from outside Africa also watching us. There was a question from South Africa some few minutes ago. So if you are within an industry which is doing something similar, or an industry like Ghana Water Company outside anywhere, and you are doing some things that they would benefit from, don't hesitate to send an email to Ghana Geospatial, Ghana Geospatial Society. He send us an email and we'll make sure we'll get it to Engineer Dochi so that his team can consider those things as well. Thank you all for coming. Lastly, announcement again, those of you who have not yet provided your document for the induction coming up in November, please do so, because there will not be any examination, but examination would be only on the document that you submit. And so we would ensure that you upload it. Those who are outside the country, President Michael, people are asking, I've had a message about those who are outside the country, what should they do? So if you have a...
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, so this to everyone. Wherever you are, you would be inducted if only you submit your documents. So the seminar or the conference in November, we would work at making it a hybrid so that we get everyone inducted. But as much as possible, those within the country would love to have you physically there so that we'll be able to see each other and not only be having the virtual sessions. I hope that answers the question.
I hope so too. Someone sent me a message. I hope he's cleared as well. If it's not, I think he can send, he can send message to me.
Send a message to the chat, or if you prefer to send an email, our email address is in the chat. That's info@ggs.org.gh. And then we should be able to respond to you as well.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, so last announcement, again, starting 22nd August, 7 p.m. each, continuously for 2 weeks, there's going to be a Python training, which is going to be a preparatory stage for learning how to use Python in the cloud environment. And so if you are interested, we will be sending this, the registration and then the details of it around. Please register on time and let us be able to estimate and learn how to control the number of people who attend. There's a hand raised, but I think our time is up. We are almost above 7 minutes above our time. So please send any other message that you have, send it to us. If you are on the main page, WhatsApp page, you can still have a chat on this, I think, on there.
Good. I've just shared the link to join the main page. Those who are not there and want to join.
So if you want to join, you can join and share your message there, and then I think there are a lot of people who can give you insights from there. Until then, we'll meet you again on the 22nd of August. Thank you very much for joining and have a good evening.
Thank you.